What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's book review is going to be Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. So I'll start with this. One thing that the book says is there's the difference between saying you're going to do something and then doing it. And if you're all talk and you're just saying you're going to do something, that's a way of you basically pleasing your ego and pleasing yourself of the idea itself of you doing something is enough for your ego to keep going through that cycle of what you might call success. So for instance, with building a mobile app, if you just tell yourself you're going to build a mobile app and you start telling all your friends and telling everyone you're going to build this mobile app, that makes your ego very happy. That will satisfy your ego, and that will get that'll get you feeling good. So that initial stage, that kind of idea stage, is what is really all ego. But that is the enemy in the sense that if you don't actually execute what you're talking about, if you don't execute that plan or build that app in this instance, then you didn't actually do anything. And one quote that I really like from the book is, you can't build a reputation on the things you're going to do. So the book really is hammering home the idea of action versus thought, and you want to be a person of action. And really another thing with this is you don't even want to be telling people these ideas. Like, you don't really necessarily want to be telling people what you're doing or what you're planning. Now, there are, I guess, different ways to look at this. I mean, this whole channel is essentially me telling you what I'm going to be doing. I haven't actually completed it yet, so there's that. But if you use that as a way to fuel you into building what you're building, whereas it keeps you accountable, then I think that it can be a beneficial thing. But you don't want to just be saying you're going to do stuff and never actually do it. So that's something that that's something I'm being confronted with now, in that I still haven't finished this app. Another idea in the book is kind of the idea of being humble. And I think if you read this book with an open mind and you kind of read it as a instruction manual in a way, or you read it in a way that you're trying to learn something from it, you'll kind of realize parts of your life where your ego is taking over and where it's not actually benefiting you. Kind of the opposite of being strongly egocentric is being humble. So that's what you would want to strive for. One quote from it that I did like is you can't learn something that you think you already know. So if you think you already know how to do something, that's cool. You're going to be like set knowing it in that way. But for instance, with code, or really with anything, but with software or with building an app or building a business, you might think you know the answer, and you might actually have an answer, and you might know the answer to a certain problem, but it might not be the only answer, and it might not be the best answer. So you want to keep yourself humble and keep yourself open to those other ideas from other people or other sources. Another thing the book covers is kind of purpose versus passion. So a lot of times people will think, or a lot of times you'll hear, do something you're passionate about, or, follow your passion. And the book kind of negates that and says, following your passion is really like letting your ego control your decisions. And I think definitions here could get a little gray area, but basically by passion, the book means don't just do something that makes you feel good, do something that gives you a purpose. And a purpose is more important. Your purpose should actually fuel your passion, but it should also be doing something more than just making you feel good. It should be making other people, it should be doing something for other people. It should have a purpose outside of just your egocentric life. So I think ideally you would want to mix the two. The book kind of says, don't do anything with passion at all, but I think the core meaning of it is to do something that provides value to other people, and do something that isn't just going to provide value to you. So another quote I liked from the book is, don't let accomplishments trick you into thinking you know everything. So this comes back to being humble. You don't want those wins that you get in your business, in your app, or in life really. You don't want any of those wins to make you become more egocentric and start thinking you're better than people and start thinking you know everything. Because if you do that, you're going to start to lose sight of areas that you are lacking in, and areas where maybe a better solution could come in, or maybe you could iterate on that. So one last thing I liked in the book was it talked a little bit about motivation, and it says don't be motivated by people. And the reason for that is because sometimes they actually just don't care. If you think about your app, for instance, if you're trying to build this app to impress someone or to prove something to someone, that is not a good reason. Like that should not be your motivation, or it's a weak motivation. It's kind of an egocentric motivation, and really the main bad part about that is that the person that you're trying to please, the person you're trying to show your value to by building this thing or doing whatever it is you're doing, they might not care at all. They might not even be thinking about you. They might not even be thinking about what you're building, what you're doing, or they might already be, they might already think of you in such a high regard that it doesn't matter what you do. So you don't want that to be your motivation, because it's not actually a good motivation. Instead, you should be motivated by what your purpose is, as we touched on before, and you want that purpose to be something that is going to be beneficial to more people than just yourself. If you've read this book, comment down below what you thought. If you haven't read the book, check the links down below to get it. I would highly recommend this book. All right, that's going to be it for this video chat for now.